Welcome to Bullshift, the podcast that helps you make better financial decisions by calling out the financial services industry as it shifts your attention to make you feel more bullish. My name is John DeGuy. I'm the host of the podcast and the author of the book, Bullshift. My guest this week is Nadine Livingston, and she's the founder and chief Alchemist. Founder and chief Alchemist at Strategically, a strategic consulting firm. She's a serial entrepreneur, and she has left her mark on the marketing, innovation, and transformation worlds. She's significantly impacted omni-channel marketing, creative solutions, tech innovation, digital transformation, and other fields. And she has spearheaded marketing and loyalty initiatives for iconic brands across diverse industry groups. She has done a lot. Nadine, welcome.
Thank you for having me here, John.
Let's see if we can begin by having you very, very quickly talk to us about your career path, and specifically, if you could end with why did you and Pat Dunwoody create Strategically?
Absolutely. My history is approximately 30 years in advertising and marketing. Really started in pre-media and print, data, laser, letter shop side, photography, all of that. Then I crossed over to the dark side, which was the advertising agency world, and then crossed over again to the client side. So I really have a strong background in advertising, marketing, data analytics, the client environments when it comes to marketing. And a lot of my clients through, any aspect of my career have really been in the financial services industry vertical and automotive, retail, then
Okay.
for the most part, crossed over and decided, I think I just want to be a consultant for a while and, see how that goes.
So why Strategically specifically? What made you decide to start your own firm?
Well, in between that, I actually co-founded a commercial construction development company. And after, working on many different real estate development projects, I decided that, I still love the marketing and branding side of things. So at that point, I decided after I was a fractional CFO and COO for a little while, CMO, then I decided, what, I'm going to start a digital marketing company. And Pat and I, we had worked together on a couple of startups, and that didn't end up going anywhere. And we decided, hey, let's open up a consulting firm, between the two of us. And we have so much diverse experience as well. And we just really wanted to have this consultancy where we could provide people tools and resources in order to help their businesses grow.
So that dovetails into why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because Bullshift talks about how the industry shifts your attention to make you feel more bullish. And obviously, a lot of that shift takes place because of marketing campaigns that are run by different organizations and different corporations. I'm a big fan of the people who wrote the Freakonomics books. I don't know if you're familiar with them, and that's basically a form. Stephen Levitt, the main academic behind the books, is a prof at Chicago, and one of the things that Levitt likes to say is that people respond to incentives, and that is the dominant theme of the Freakonomics books. What can you tell us about, say, loyalty programs and things like that you've been involved with that offer incentives to get people to do things? What's your take on incentives in general? Do they work, and if so, how?
Okay, so they definitely work. The concept that people respond to incentives, it's fundamental to understanding consumer behavior, and especially in the context of loyalty programs, because they're designed to incentivize people for repeat purchases, and that fosters customer loyalty through various rewards and benefits. And so if you don't mind, I'd just like to go down a couple of
Sure.
examples
Sure.
of way or different examples of ways that loyalty programs can really influence, buying patterns. So rewards and discounts, offering rewards such as points, discounts, cash back, or exclusive offers. That really encourages customers to choose a particular brand or retailer over its competitors. And consumers may also alter their buying patterns to maximize their rewards or take advantage of special promotions available only to loyalty program members. There's tiered benefits. For example, there was a program that I worked on, the Via Rail Preference Program. So many loyalty programs, they have tiered structures where customers can unlock additional benefits or perks as they reach higher levels of loyalty. Personalization is another example. Effective loyalty programs, they leverage consumer data to personalize the rewards and offers based on the individual preferences and their purchase history, their buying behaviors. And then what they do is they tailor the incentives to align with the customer's interests and needs could also influence their buying decisions and encourage them to remain loyal to that brand. Experiential rewards is another one, and gamification. So overall, loyalty programs, they really tap into the psychological principle of reciprocity, and
Let's see.
where, pardon?
Can we just go from there, from loyalty programs, which is one aspect of what you know,
Sure.
to actual marketing campaigns? Can you
Okay.
maybe talk about 2 or 3 marketing campaigns that you've been involved in? Because it's got to be the same sort of principles, but it's a
Yeah.
different way of noodling into getting the consumer to change their behavior. And that's that's the shift part of bullshift, right? It's getting people
Sure.
to do things that they might not otherwise do.
Well, okay. Here's a couple of examples of when it comes into marketing. So the fear of missing out, that I think would you probably resonates with you most, and most of your viewers as well and listeners, uh, because if all of a sudden they create these tactics, it's a sense of urgency or the scarcity around the products or services. And so by limiting, emphasizing, a limited time offer, for example, or an exclusive deal, something's in high demand, consumers, they end up spending more than they intended to because they don't, and they buy things that they don't even necessarily need, just because ultimately these marketers are prioritizing the interests of the providers over their own, or over what the well-being or financial well-being of the consumer is. If that made sense.
Yeah, it does. So, and that's the theme that I wanted to be able to sort of noodle on is the idea of shifting, and it's often very gentle. It's often a nudge, but people end up very subtly changing what they buy and how much they buy and who they
Right.
buy from, and then
Yeah.
ultimately it even gets into why they buy. You know
Well,
what?
a couple of other examples to your point there would
Yeah.
be like celebrity endorsements or social proofing. So because this person, says that this is a great product, then people go out and buy it, especially if they're a fan, right? So oftentimes you have, let's say, for example, athletes, professional athletes, people who are fans of it because they say this is great, then everybody goes out and buys that. Or it just hidden fees and complex pricing structures, though. That's the thing that gets me as a consumer. That's the thing that bothers me the most, is when you don't really understand, because there was a campaign that was very misleading, and a lot of there are, in fact, a number of programs that are like that. So it's not until you actually get into, clicking through to get to that shopping cart that you realize, wow, okay, and now I've ended up spending a lot more than I needed to, but the advertisement was seeing this.
Right.
So
I know IKEA is famous for having a store which is exceedingly difficult to navigate as one example. You can get into the store, but once you're in, it's like the Hotel California, you can never
Yeah,
leave. You know, it's one of those
right.
things. Uh, I'm wondering if you have any insights as to specifics for frame of mind. So here's what I'm getting at. It's long been known that if you go shopping for groceries on an empty stomach, you're likely to buy more. Um, what about things like, do you have any experience with, say, selling insurance? Is it easier to sell insurance by tugging on someone's heartstrings, or if grandpa died just last month, or
Yep.
things like that? Are there little hacks that marketers have that you'd be willing to share that will help
Uh,
people to realize that they're being bullshifted from time to time?
Hacks. I don't. There's not. When it comes to marketing in general, and this is I'm being I guess a little bit blunt or about this, but marketers, it's manipulating people to do what you want them to do, right? And so that, as a brand, you need to appeal to the emotions of the consumer. So, that's why when you see photography of food, it looks delicious. It's, here's a perfect example. A turkey, people who, when you see a shot of a beautiful turkey with all the, trimmings and everything like that, that turkey, just so you know, will never look that way once it's really cooked. So when they're taking the photography of things like this, the cookie is, or the turkey is undercooked. It's actually raw. But in order for them to get that perfect look and the glazing and whatnot, like that's how food stylists, how they need to, how they need to prepare things. Um, I know. So well, actually, sorry. I'm gonna step back a little bit on that. When it comes to, let's say, emotional triggers, they definitely drive consumer behavior, especially when it's related to financial security or well-being. And even if you look at when it comes to foster parents plan, that's another program where they're appealing to people the emotional triggers to help children and that's probably not a great example, but you get the idea where it's the emotional triggers that where you can really get to people's vulnerabilities. For example, if they're experiencing financial hardships or triggering feelings of anxiety around your future. Retirement is another RRSPs. When people are looking at, what are your savings? What is your savings for retirement or investing in financial products? That would be another area. I think that's more relevant to your audience. So sorry to go off
Sure.
on a tangent there.
No, 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 that's fine. The other thing that I think of when it comes to marketing is that it's important to cast a very broad net. Unless you've got a very specific
Uh-huh.
niche, you're trying to appeal to as many people as possible. So what do marketers do to make their ads be diverse and inclusive and able to have people from different sexes, sexual orientation, religion, ethnic backgrounds look at the ad and say, "Oh yeah, that could be me."
You need to appeal to um, as many people as you can, but that's relevant to that messaging. So, for example, what happens, I'm going to speak specifically about the banks.
Okay.
With a financial institution, often there's people have several products from the bank. They may not just have a savings account, for example. You could have checkings and savings. You could have, you could be investing. So you could be on the wealth management side. You could have a mortgage, for example, with a bank as well. So what they'll do is, in the banks in particular, they have all of this information on you. So they're really able to communicate with an individual. And I'm just saying, if you're already a customer, if you're already a customer, they've got your buying behaviors. What'll often happen, let's take it back to basic data laser letter shop or direct marketing. What they do is they take their data and they'll segment it so that they've got different buckets of demographics, and they'll try to personalize the message as much as possible to that demographic. So even if it's as simple as a postal code, when you know where somebody is living, you know about the environment around that. You know everything that you possibly can around that demographic. So that way you can speak to them more relevantly. When it comes to, let's say, as far as trying to personalize, they also look at how. Sorry, you're sorry, John. I'm because I'm thinking about.
No, so here's where I wanted to go then. So what I wanted to ask, Nadine, is marketers are obviously very sophisticated. They obviously do a lot of micro targeting. How do they keep score beyond just clicks and impressions? Like what does a sophisticated marketing program look to be able to achieve, and how can a marketing consultant go to the VP of marketing of a major corporation and say, see, our campaign delivered on this and this, and here's why, even if it's not easy to measure?
Well, you can leverage social media programs, for example, for targeting advertising, community engagement, customer service, brand building. That's really what you want to do. But if you're going back to see how effective something was, you're looking at engagement. And it's how you measure everything. What are your KPIs that you set up before you do a campaign? So that's part of the strategy. Is your KPIs. What's
a KPI?
Oh, sorry, your key performance indicators.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So looking at those, how you have a strategy initially, and then from that strategy, you develop a plan, and that plan could be, if it's, for example, something that's one of those limited time offers, you may only have a campaign that's going to run for about 6 weeks. You want to plan you want to tease people. You want to be able to get a certain level of engagement. And then if you're, at the end of the day, if you're measuring your, how many did the sales drive up? Did you convert a lot of people on the website? Or was your strategy and your goal just to, see if you could get more followers on social media, for example? Or, is it increasing sales? So it really depends on whatever the goals are. But you set that up initially when you're talking about the initial strategy and work out the plan that way.
Now, you spoke earlier about gamification and gamification of loyalty programs. Can you expand on that? Because I wanted to make a mental note to double back to ask you about what that means.
So gamification, let me see. Let me give you a good example of that. Oh my gosh, I had a blank.
Okay, well, while you're thinking about that, I have another question about loyalty programs. Would you say that a group RRSP is a loyalty program? If you're at XYZ Corporation and this corporation's trying to get you to work for them rather than ABC Corporation, and XYZ Corporation offers a group RRSP, or maybe a matching benefits program where if you contribute up to $400 a month, we'll match it. Is that the sort of thing that a marketer might consider to be a loyalty program? Because up until now, as a person who, whenever I have a client and they have a group RSP, I say, oh, absolutely. If you're getting matching dollars, you're getting free money. Put in as much as you can and get the maximum match. And, it's free money. You should absolutely take it. But I never, until I met you, thought of that as being a loyalty program. But I realized that a group RSP might very well be a form of loyalty program.
It is. It is definitely a form of. Really, loyalty programs. If you're designing an effective one, then you need to make sure that you're including rewards that are really attainable, and again, simplicity in earning and personalizing it. And when it comes to RRSPs, that's going to be targeted to that, to that group that's really thinking about it. And of course, the banks really want to focus on trying to capture the youth generation as well. But if you can get, as soon as people start making a living, if you can capture them in their 20s, then it's fantastic. And what better way to try and draw them in, obviously by a loyalty program would do it. But then by capturing an RRSP or throwing that in to the mix would just be a benefit to, to everyone.
Okay, let's double back. Gamification. Have you thought of an example of gamification? Because when you use the word, I thought, I think I know what she means, but I don't really know how marketing people gamify their buying decisions. So please help me to understand what you mean by that.
So digitalization of loyalty. It's where technology is facilitating the seamless enrollment, for example, point tracking. When it comes to redemption and personalized offers and notifications. So, for example, the Optimum program. If you
Right.
look at your app, any loyalty program for that matter, but I'm just thinking because my rewards just popped up saying, hey, check out your rewards for the week, right? So, those types of things are, you're looking at your points on the app. It's like, oh wow, okay, I can collect this many points if I go into Shoppers or Loblaw or Esso or anybody that's connected with any partner on that platform, and you're trying to capture as many points as possible. So that's a method of gamification or
Okay.
yeah. And then when it
So
comes to redemptions as well, you're trying to collect as many points because you want to have a higher redemption, like air miles, for example, or Aeroplan.
So if we go from the idea of gamification to maybe some quote unquote innovative digital solutions, things that say banks will use, they do some things that if you ask them, they'll say they're doing it to better serve their customers because data is king, and the more data you have, the more you can data mine and get into the specifics of their circumstances. Would you go so far as to say, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, you can say no, that that these sorts of high-end digital solutions are really just an excuse for sophisticated institutions to cross-sell and upsell, which is to say, if you've already got an investment account, maybe you need some life insurance for your mortgage. Maybe you
Absolutely.
need, what do you don't you have an RESP for your kid? What's the matter with you? That sort of thing.
Absolutely. Banks, they'll spend a lot of investment or they'll invest a lot into user-friendly interfaces, omni-channel capabilities, mobile apps for convenience of banking. They'll when it comes to cross-selling, it's like any company, right? Any company that has a number of different divisions, you want to try to organically grow all of that business, right? So, of course, you want, when it comes to enhancing the customer experience, you're trying to gain that loyalty from that consumer so that they, will invest in a number of your other products as well. Excuse me.
Good to know. All right, let's see if we can wrap this up. I always like to end with two things, and that's the first one is that's bullshit, where I ask people to explain something that they don't like about the way the financial services industry works, and the second is shift happens, where I ask them to solve the problem they've just identified. So Nadine, you're on the spot. If it's up to you, that's bullshit. What's one thing that you really dislike about the way people market financial services in 2024?
Oh. Okay. See, I look at it from a different perspective, but
Okay, well, what's your perspective?
let's say what bothers me the most right now, and it's a recent thing, is when financial services when they don't look at, let's say they just do a random a random campaign, and let's say they're trying to get you to open up a savings account, and I've got it. I bank with a number of different banks, but the messages are not always relevant to me. So it'll say, open up a savings account today, and get up to $300 deposited into your account if you open up that savings account. Well, I already have that savings account with that bank, and now I see that they're actually, they're incentivizing people to, by putting money into their account, by opening up the savings account. But what are they doing for somebody who is already a loyal client of theirs that has that savings account, but received that message in error?
Right.
So it's
Or
a bit of a,
they'll offer you a line of credit or an extended, congratulations, we've just added $5,000 to your line of credit. You didn't have to do anything.
right. Why not do that? Because I've been a loyal client for so long.
Right.
They didn't send that message my way. So that I just think that they could do a better job at really focusing on who, a few of those clients that the wrong or incorrect message gets sent through to. What
So
about you? I want to hear yours.
Well, okay. Well, I'll tell you mine. I'll ask you to do Shift Happens first, and then I'll think about mine. But so Shift Happens, how would you fix the problem? How would you help banks to not ask you about a savings account when you already have one? How would you help them to ferret out the redundant questions so they can actually add value when they make a sales approach?
They need to sort their data better. That's all. I mean, I think whoever they were using as their letter shop, because banks, it's very antiquated because there's so much security protocol around everything. So what often tends to happen is that on the loyalty side, I think they're a little better when it comes to, let's say, a loyalty showing the offers. But when it comes to general messaging, I think what they need to do is they need to get their data departments or the analytics departments to really focus on tightening up the parameters around that matrix of data that they have for each of the consumers, and take anybody who's an existing client out of that bucket if they already see that they've got that product. Here's an example, really quick one. Sorry.
Sure.
Charles Schwab. When Charles Schwab Canada existed before Scotia bought them out, there was a mailing that was done, and what happened was the mailing had gone to a number of deceased people. So things like that, again, there's definitely different, they have to put more parameters or tighter parameters around how they manage the consumer's data.
Okay. So you asked me, and by the way, I've done over 60 episodes of Bullshift, and I don't think anybody's ever turned the table on me and asked me to offer my concerns. But since you asked, I figure I know to give you an example. I just this past week got a phone call from a local bank, not my main branch, but my local branch where they know that I've gone in from time to time out of convenience. And they say, "Oh, I just noticed you made a large deposit. You want to talk to someone?" And it's like, it's funny, they don't come to proactively ask you for various things just in general. But boy, oh boy, if there's a large deposit, not only did they contact me, they ringy dingy, they gave me a phone call. It wasn't a text or an email. It was a personal live person on the line. Wow. Saying, "So, hey, do you think we can get our hands on some of that money?" It's like, actually, no. But it was interesting. So there's another example of how the industry will find ways to get you to do things that you otherwise might not have done. And it's there. It's insidious. It's everywhere.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's end there. Nadine, I want to thank you for your time today. It was really insightful. I'm not a real marketing person, and I don't only talk about marketing on the podcast, but I think your insights have been really helpful. So I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
John DeGooey is a portfolio manager in Toronto and the author of the book Bullshift: How Optimism Bias Threatens Your Finances. Bullshift is available online and in bookstores everywhere. The opinions expressed in this podcast should not be construed as investment advice. Bullshift, the podcast, is produced by TalkShoe, a division of IOTM.